Or by Glazer and Associates. The views and opinions expressed in this content do not reflect those of 850 W.
Every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on 850 WFTL in South Florida. And we are live on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel right now. You can see Eric and me. And you can also ask us questions in the chat box. So I'm Karen Curtis, and I'm here with Eric Glazer, who's board certified in Community Association Law. And he has law offices in right here, Fort Lauderdale and Orlando. And we'd love to get the phone lines going early, no matter where you are in the state. If you want to give us a call in the studio, the number's 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585, because he's board certified in Community Association Law. So, or ask us on our, again, YouTube channel. And also you can ask it in the chat box and anything you want to ask, right, Eric?
Absolutely. And, of course, you're a fan of the show, just like what Karen says. Don't forget to do things. And number one, of course, join us in the YouTube, on the Condo, Craze, and HOAs channel on YouTube. You don't have to just watch us live, but every single one of our prior podcasts are there, and you can watch it at your convenience. And number two, of course, join our email list by going to condocrazeandhoas.com. By joining each week, you're going to get emails about the show, our blog, our free seminars, which are coming up. I can't believe how fast they're coming up. Our newsletters, updates on the law, and a lot more. Everybody's asking me about the seminars. When are you coming to my neighborhood? When are you coming to my neighborhood?
That's so exciting now that COVID is seemingly over.
Absolutely. We're coming. Just hang out. And, of course, we do a blog every morning at HOA-condoblog.com. And tomorrow's topic, it's election time again.
No.
And this year is going to be wild, I'll tell you. I am perceiving two types of candidates in the upcoming elections, and I have them all this week. It's a crazy week coming up. And like I said, I'm perceiving two types of candidates in the upcoming election. And here's what we'll do. I'm going to read the campaign platform for candidate number one.
Okay.
And Karen's going to read the campaign platform for candidate number two, all right? And you guys decide who you think is going to win in your condominium. So here we go. Candidate number one says, I've lived here for 20 years, and in light of the tragedy in Surfside, the dramatic rise in property insurance, mandatory reserves starting in 2025, and all of the new inspection laws that are now in effect, I've taken time to learn these laws by studying them, taking a board certification class, and I'm sorry to say that our annual assessments will be going up. I will do my best to avoid a large increase, but make no mistake, assessments will be going up. I hope to get your vote. Good luck to this guy, right?
Wow.
All right, Karen.
Yeah,
you're going to tell us the platform of candidate number two.
Okay, so I also live here and have lived here for 20 years. I was on the board most of the time, and we always ran a tight ship. I tell you that there is not a damn thing wrong with this building. Every time that a repair was needed, we made it. We don't need to ring up a new reserve account. We can just keep things the way they are. When a repair is needed, we'll make the repair. There's no way I will make any of you pay $1 extra. When a repair is needed, we'll fix it. If we don't have enough money, we will special assess. But as far as these new laws go, as far as I'm concerned, Tallahassee can kiss my ass. I hope you get my vote.
Right. And who do you think is going to win?
Oh, number two.
In condominiums across the state.
But he's right, because no one's going to enforce it.
Yeah, I predict candidate two, unfortunately, wins in a landslide. No two ways about it. And
why do you say that?
Yeah, I'm not convinced that most condominium owners learned anything from the tragedy at Champlain Towers and Surfside. They still just care about keeping the assessments low no matter what. Terraces have spalling concrete. Who cares? Keep the assessments low. 30-year-old roof is leaking. Who cares? Keep the assessments low. The pool has been inoperable for 2 years. Who cares? Keep the assessments low. The elevator hasn't gone up or down in 6 months. Who cares? Keep the assessments low.
Yeah, but that's violation of anyone that's got some sort of disability.
Yeah, it's a violation of their fiduciary duty as well. But, the problem is that candidate number one, is delusional. Mandatory inspections, mandatory repairs, and in 2 years, mandatory reserves will all be required. And the board must adhere. I should say candidate number two is delusional. It's like the kid in 7th grade running for class president and telling everybody that he promises to ensure that there will no longer be school on Wednesday. Right? It's just, the kid can't pull that off, right?
Hey.
Yeah, there's no way he can do it. Of course not.
It's like
Will he
running on
win?
the Green New Deal.
Right. But he might win, though,
Yes.
that kid, right? He might win.
Yeah.
So, I'll give you an example of what I already see happening. A condo is told it needs an inspection, so the condo hires an engineer. And the engineer does a thorough job and tells the condo that he estimates that they're facing $11 million in repairs, right? The condo was shocked. So what do? They get a new engineer who comes in with a bid of $2 million. And sounds ridiculous, right? But that's what's happening right now.
We only want to hear what we want to hear.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly you hit the nail on the head, Karen.
And
That's
when was
exactly
last
right.
week we said, I hear you?
Yes,
Or
exactly.
you hear me or something.
Right.
But I know the second engineer won't do all the work that's needed. It's obvious. So obviously, what you can't not do what you're supposed to do.
But a lot of times the board doesn't care. This they can sell to the owners, but they won't be able to sell it to the local building official. That I can assure you.
Wow, it's unbelievable. I mean, there's a lot of buildings that started their construction work before July 1st, 2022. Right. And that's the date that the Milestone 1 and Milestone 2 inspections became mandatory. Now, suppose their work is still going on now. Is there anything that they should be looking for?
Okay, does everybody understand that? So a lot of people started their work, and I've had this several times this last week. They started their 30, 40, 50-year inspections before the Milestone 1 and Milestone 2 law came into effect. So what do you want to do? You want to make sure that you get confirmation from your engineer and from your local building official that the work they're doing now satisfies the Milestone 1 and Milestone 2 requirements, because if you don't get this assurance, you can have to do all this work over again, perhaps, or you just didn't complete enough of the work. Here you are, you think you're done, and then the building official says, no, you didn't do enough to complete the Milestone 1 and Milestone 2 inspection. So if you're in the middle of a lot of work right now, you want to make sure, hey, does this satisfy the new law, the Milestone 1 and Milestone 2 inspection? If it doesn't, you're going to be back to doing all this again soon.
But who's going to come in and police it?
The local building official.
Okay, so, wow. And so when you're starting to see in terms of condo sales, is this affecting that?
Yeah.
I mean, are these new requirements hurting the market?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, when everyone hears about all the repairs and special assessments that they're about to undergo, they always ask me, can I sell? Before we go through all this, can I sell and just get the hell out of here?
Who's responsible for the special assessment once it's been levied?
So that's the thing. Once it's been levied. So
So the clock starts ticking then.
That's exactly right. So if the special assessments have already been passed, you can get out of there, but you're going to wind up paying that special assessment, and that new buyer won't. So you want to get out of Dodge before that special assessment is passed. And do I anticipate a lot of selling that's about to go on? No two ways about it. It's going to be really, really tough. But let's ask our listeners, if you live in a condo that's about to go undergo a lot of repairs, are you sticking it out and paying the special assessments? And are you about to live with the construction debris? Or are you selling and getting out? Give us a call here in the studio, 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585, or drop us a question in the chat box on the Condo Craze channel on YouTube. We will be back right after this.
There are
Oh no, an unexpected leak. Jay, you know that's no way to solve a roof problem. Call Best Roofing. We solve roof problems.
We are DMI Paving and Seal Coating, Florida's parking lot experts. We specialize in asphalt paving and repair, including pothole repair, seal coating using JC7 or polytar, concrete curbs, ramps, and walkways, and striping and pavement marking, as well as ADA compliance. We service commercial properties, including homeowners associations, apartment communities, shopping malls, warehouses, stadiums and arenas, and more. Experience is worth more than anything in an industry like ours, and our staff has decades of it. We have specialized equipment for any job, regardless of size, saving you time and money. DMI has a reputable history. We have been in business since 1956. We serve the state of Florida from 6 locations. Let us bid on your next parking lot project. Visit us online at dmipavingandsealcoating.com.
There are very large management companies and there are very small management companies, and I think Affinity sits somewhere in the middle of that, where they are big enough to provide you with all of the back of the house services, the accounting, the infrastructure, the support systems, but small enough to be high touch.
We believe at Affinity that we do the 9 to 5 so that you don't have to do that.
Proudly taking your calls and questions at 877-850-8585 on anything Condo, HOA, or the new law. And you can ask us on our YouTube channel as well, Condo, Craze, and HOAs in the chat box if you have a question.
Yeah, a lot of angry questions in the chat box. So let's go to Greg. Good morning, Eric. Members of the board have been dismissing late charges on their assessments for themselves and cronies. What can be done? Is this selective enforcement? You know, pretty amazing, right? If that's done, sure. If you can prove that up to the DBPR, that's something that they will, I believe, take notice of and perhaps fine the association. I certainly see that coming and telling the association's board that they better stop doing that. You know that the problem is though that type of a fine. I'm not so sure that they have the authority to go after the directors directly. Believe it or not,
Really?
So they might wind up fining the association for something that a few bad guys on the board did. It's really
And then they'll
unbelievable.
pay for it themselves.
Right. I mean, they'll pay for it out of the association's funds. It's just really terrible. All right, Deborah, is the board allowed to receive the proxy and election form before the membership so that they're able to knock on doors and get the vote? Absolutely not. That's supposed to be mailed out with the second notice, same thing to everybody else. So the question, or the answer to your question, Deborah, is no. All right, to the phones. Barry in Miami. How are you, Barry?
Hi, Karen. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Okay, what's going on?
Okay, suppose that the SERS reserves, the structural integrity reserves, they start the beginning of 2025, and our condominium knows that they've had a study and they're going to need a concrete restoration project in 2027.
Right.
And we've never had reserves for concrete restoration.
Right.
And we don't want to have to put into our SERS reserves for the next 2 years
Right.
a huge amount for concrete restoration.
Right.
What we want to do, this is not my idea. This is actually another condo lawyer's idea, which I think is worth exploring.
Sure.
What they're suggesting is maybe the glitch bill says that you can use a line of credit as part of your mandated reserves, and as you know, the line of credit would convert to a term loan once the project starts. But their suggestion is not putting the money away, but this line of credit should count as available funds for purposes of the SERS funding requirement. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Is the line of credit going to be taken out? Is it going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Drawn upon during the next 2 years. You'll just have access to it.
It's not drawn upon, and no interest is charged
Right.
until the project starts.
I have no problem with that. I understand completely what you're saying. So I guess the question is, how far out will a bank let you go? And I think the most 2 years. The most 2 years. No, so what Barry is saying, okay, it's 2025. You don't have anything in your reserve account, and you know you're going to have a major project in 2 years. So under the new law, you'd have to fund the reserve account for that project, right? Construction, balconies, whatever it may be, all in 2 years. So Barry's saying, wait a minute, would it be okay if instead of funding it all in 2 year shot, you have access to a line of credit with a bank, access to a loan?
But as a homeowner, when that loan is approved, am I on the hook for it even if I sell my place at that time?
Yes, you would be. Yes, you would be. So, but what the good thing about it is, yes, it would be fully funded in effect within 2 years, right? And instead of having to come up with it all in one shot in 2 years, that would turn into a bank loan payable over a very long period of time. I don't have a problem with that, Barry. I think it's a great idea. I'd look.
Yeah, I think in order to do that, the glitch bill would have to say this counts as funds for purposes of meeting the reserves. I don't think you could do it without.
You know what?
Language in 718.
Probably not, but I don't think I'd have a problem telling my client right now that that's okay. If in effect it's going to be fully funded over the 2 years with your access to a line of credit, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's great thinking. It's thinking out of the box, and it's a way to prevent perhaps a lot of people from getting kicked out of their homes. I think it's a great suggestion that you made today.
But if I sell today and they take the line of credit, but it's not used till 2025,
that's a great question.
Then I have to pay it.
So that's the question is, what's going to happen when you as a seller try to sell, and most condos want that money, even though people have 20 years to pay back. No, they want it when you sell.
Right.
And that's something that you're going to have to work out between you and your buyer. But Barry, that's a great question, and I have no problem, and I would want it to work that way. I don't want people getting kicked out of their houses. I think it's a really great plan that you came up with today. Okay?
Okay, not mine, somebody else's idea. Thank you.
No, you got it. Well, you always have good ideas anyway. Thank you, Barry. How about we go to Julia from Hollandale?
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Karen.
Hey, Julia. How are you?
I'm good. That line of credit idea is really good. The only thing is it's still a liability. It's not an asset. So that needs to be figured out. Well,
perhaps it's better than hitting everybody with tremendous special assessments, though, that are payable over 2 years, and instead it's payable over a 10-year banknote.
Definitely. Yeah. Great idea. Just needs to be worked out with details. My question is about communications. The individuals on the board decided to change the rules and regulations and limit the number of inquiries or requests of information to one a month with a maximum of 2 items. On top
per
of
person?
That, they decided to levy fines on the situations when the owners are talking to contractors. So it looks to me like they're censoring and hiding. Where do we go with that? Is that a DBPR or a police investigation?
The DBPR will absolutely put a stop to that nonsense. And I can tell you, normally that comes up in a setting where the board tries to put a number on the amount of records requests that unit owners can make in a given month. And I can tell you what typically happens is, and basically every case I've ever seen, it fails. Why? Because every 10 days or so, a unit owner has the right to ask for access to records. Now, perhaps can you limit the type of access that they're entitled to, meaning you can't continuously ask for the same records time and again? Maybe. I've got to tell you, but other than that, it's pretty hard because the case law says they're entitled to access. Same thing with unit owner inquiry. There's nothing in the statute that says that a unit owner is entitled to a one inquiry per month. So I think anything that limits the right of a unit owner to ask for inquiries less than what the statute entitles them to is going to fail. And right now, the statute, I don't believe, puts any number on the amount of inquiries that can be asked. So I think any limitation would fail, Julia. Any.
Awesome. Can I ask a second question?
Yes.
This is applicable to most people.
Go right ahead.
No, just one a month.
Right. Exactly.
We changed the rules.
Right.
There is, that's the way to win, actually, change the rules. There is presumably a requirement to have some kind of a resuscitation equipment on most floors in a multi-floor building.
Yes.
And just logically speaking, if nobody in the association is willing to use that equipment because they don't want to get into a legal situation with a potential victim or they don't have the skill, what's the use of that equipment?
Because a family member would use a defibrillator.
But there's automatic, there's no liability. The statute specifically says that if it's done in good faith, right, you are, what's the word I'm looking for? The bottom line, immune from any liability whatsoever, okay? So they don't have to be worried about that.
Okay, but there still needs to be somebody who's trained, and if nobody's trained...
Yeah, but your family members can get trained. I would love to have that in the building.
Exactly. And the bottom line is with these defibrillators, believe me,
it's easy.
Unfortunately, I know because of a personal incident, but I will tell you that these defibrillators, they're automatic.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it. What I mean by that is they won't administer a shock unless a shock is necessary.
Oh, they can sense up if the heart is beating, so you can't screw it up.
So you basically can't screw it up.
I love it.
Don't be afraid of using it, okay?
Yeah, no.
You're
better with it.
Right. I think you just asked a question that might wind up saving lives, Julian.
Yes.
Okay?
Get the defibrillator.
Exactly.
Look at the guy in the football game.
Yeah. Thanks for the call.
There.
How about we go to Michael in Palm Beach Gardens?
Michael.
Hey, guys. How are you?
How are you? What's going on?
Great. Wanted to share the good news first. My condo passed the Phase 1 inspection. They said Phase 2 was not necessary.
Wow.
I didn't think we'd ever hear that.
I didn't think we'd ever hear that either.
That's
I got to tell you.
amazing. How tall is your building?
3 stories.
3 stories.
Well, there
you know, yeah, maybe a 3-story, but I didn't think we'd hear that, quite frankly. Karen's right.
Just a CYA.
Because, just what does the Phase 1 guy have to lose?
That's huge.
In saying, hey, you know what? Let's have another guy take a look at this.
What
does the guy got to lose?
How old is your building?
We just turned 50.
Okay, there you go.
50.
Good for you.
Wait. Did it? Hold on. So you're telling me? I just want to make sure I understand it. Did it ever undergo a 40-year inspection?
Yes.
It did. Okay. So it did the work that was required after the 40. Now it's the 50, and he's saying you're fine. Everything's great. Okay. You know, very unusual. You're not going to hear that too much.
I'm taking note of what you said at the beginning about the person from the city.
Yes.
Also wanting it to meet that standard.
Yes.
Okay, so 2 quick things. Is there any way we can lobby or write a letter to the state asking them to amend the law before it goes into effect that trying to be fully funded by 2025, why don't they phase it in? Why don't they do like 50% by 2025, 75% 2 years later, 100%? So we're not getting hit with this whammy all of a sudden.
The glitch bill maybe can handle.
So here's what you're saying. So what you're saying is you're going to do a roof analysis starting in 2025. By in the roof analysis says you need a brand new roof in 3 years. Your roof is falling apart, right? So instead of giving you 3 years to do your roof, give you 6 years. And suppose the roof collapses and, kills somebody. That's where the legislature is at right now. Suppose you need concrete restoration, and the concrete restoration is needed in 2 years. You want to be able to do it in 4 years? You only want to have to come up with 50% of that? That will never happen. The legislature's not going to do that.
What I'm saying is that when you have a reserve study, they look at everything, and everything has a timetable, but the state has been going along with allowing partially funded reserves for years, and then all of a sudden everything has to be 100%. I mean,
why? Because what did they? I'm not gonna fight. I'm saying it respectfully, but I'm gonna fight with you on it. The state has been making a mistake, right? And I've been arguing this. The state has been making a mistake for decades on end, right? I always say it. You know why the Champlain Towers fell? We can argue all day long about why it fell. Was it too close to the other building? Was there structural defects? It fell because there was a lack of money in the kitty. That's why it fell. So the Florida legislature is not going to let that happen again.
Yeah, I agree with fully funded reserves. Just they're not giving condo owners a lot of time to make up.
Hey,
You've had all the time in the world.
Exactly. Karen said it. You've had all the time in the world. But instead, what you chose to do is waive reserves.
The bills come due.
Year after year after year. And now the bills come due, just like Karen said. Everybody's saying they didn't have time. You had decades, and you chose to waive.
Yes, but I understand. But it needs to be reasonable so that...
No, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to fight you on it every time. No, you guys, the people that waived it for 30 years needed to be reasonable. I live in a single-family home, and I am constantly putting money into my single-family home. Constantly. Doesn't stop, right? You guys thought, or many people thought, they can live in a condo for decades and never have to come out of pocket to fix anything. That was unreasonable thinking. So in that regard, I don't have pity for anyone who finds themselves in that position if they waived reserve for decades. I simply don't.
Okay. One other quick question. Is there any way to write into the condo docs if somebody challenges a rule or an amendment that if the association or the board needs to consult with the attorney to pass the attorney fees on to the person making the issue?
No, absolutely not.
You're
absolutely not.
on the hook.
The only way that attorney's fees should be passed on to the unit owner is if the unit owner winds up in litigation with the association and the association winds up prevailing in that litigation. That's ridiculous. If the unit owner asks a question or something like that, they should be penalized? No, nothing in the statute that allows for that.
Not a question, but they challenge it. People will challenge things until they hear from a lawyer.
Okay.
And it's like you're just trying to enforce the rules that are already there.
I don't know what you mean by challenge it, but if, again, the statute says, clearly, if a unit owner wants to take the association to task and file an arbitration case or a litigation case, then yes, they take the chance of losing and paying the association's bills, but that's it. As a matter of fact, Karen, I think I shared it with you. I don't even remember. There's a case that's made the news recently where a unit owner challenged the right to get access to records, and they were hit with a final judgment. You ready?
Yeah.
Over $300,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, they lost. They lost at arbitration. They lost in court, and they were hit with $300,000. That's the only time unit owners can get hit with paying that
are you
bill.
saying that some of your people that live there are abusing the need to hear from the property attorney on a clarification? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like a simple rule, like if you have a simple rule that says...
But they're not happy till they hear from the attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. They won't.
Hey,
they won't concede anything until they get that letter.
Okay, but when they lose, right, and they'll wind up paying the attorney's fees. But if the attorney just has to write them a letter, right, not good enough.
Okay.
Not good enough.
Then everyone pays the bill.
Right.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. Hey, we got to take our bottom of the hour break. Taking your calls, everybody, 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585, or write them in on the Condo Craze and HOAs channel on YouTube. We will be back right after this.
Is your condominium or HOA
Association. Welcome back to the second half hour of Condo, Craze, and HOAs here on 850 WFTL. Karen Curtis here with attorney Eric Glazer. He's board certified in community association law. He teaches courses on it. And you are it's election season, so you're about to start up again, aren't you, sir?
Yeah, we won't go through the whole spiel, but the bottom line is, as you know, if you don't get certified within 90 days of getting on the board, you're off the board. And we always say the best way to do it is by getting certified by taking an educational class. So we'll just give you the 3 dates real fast. Next week already, February 7th, 2023. Hello, Broward.
Hello, Broward.
Yeah.
At the Signature Grand right there at 595. February 22nd, that's going to be in Palm Beach County at the Palm Beach Convention Center right there in Okeechobee.
Yep, and February 28th, Tampa, Florida at the LNL Condo and HOA Expo. All of these things start at 8:30 a.m. It is no longer 9 o'clock. They want to give me more time to teach, actually.
Of course, and if you're listening to the show and you don't know what we're talking about and you think it's like very confusing, you need to take this course.
No question.
You know?
So that's why they gave us 8:30 instead of 9.
You teach so many different topics at the seminar, including all the safety, inspection, and reserve funding laws.
Everything that's new.
Importance of the from time to time language, Kaufman language, official records, different types of documents that govern your community, service and emotional support animals, big one, ding, 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 collections, manager responsibilities, and he serves you food. He gives you a beautiful frameable certificate, so don't just sign that affidavit that you read the docs.
God forbid.
And you walk out again with the notes from what he told you.
Yeah, Condo, Craze, and HOAs.com to register again. Condo, Craze, and HOAs.com to register. I know we had a problem with our website. I know we did.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I had to spend a hell of a lot of money to fix it.
Did you
this week.
the Russians hack you?
No, but the guys in India fixed it.
Oh.
Right, so everything is perfect now. So, again, Condo, Craze, and HOAs.com to join us for these 3 seminars. All right, let's go to the board and see what some of the questions are. Dennis asks, can the association choose its own bank, or do we have to go with the bank the management is using? So when I review a contract for an association, and there's a clause in there that says the management company is forcing the association to use the bank that the management company wants, I just bring it to my client's attention. Is this something that you're willing to do? If not, let's change it. So, yes, they can force it if you agree to it in the contract, okay? That's the bottom line.
By the way, he's looking at our HOA, Condo Craze and HOA's channel on YouTube, asking questions in the chat box.
Absolutely correct. Let's see. Okay, you know what? Let's go back to the phones then. Who do we got? We got Joe in Boynton Beach.
Joe.
Hello, Eric and Karen.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay, quick question, really quick. HOA has nothing in the document that excludes them from not accepting a new purchaser.
Right.
Can the HOA have, even though there's nothing in the document, exclude people that are renting?
Oh.
No. Well, does it say specifically that the association can then do an interview of people that are renting? And if the answer is no, there's nothing in there, then no, the association can absolutely not exclude. Oftentimes what the association does have is a right of first refusal. That's it. But if there's nothing in the document specifically that says the association has the right to reject, they don't have a right to reject. End of story.
Thank you.
Okay? All right. Who else we got? We got Suzanne in Pompano. How are you, Suzanne?
Hello.
How are you?
Yes, I'm calling about hi, fine. I'm calling about my co-op in Pompano, and the board of directors they are not enforcing the house rules, and I didn't know what I could do as a shareholder, what I could do about it.
Understood. That's always a difficult question when you say, my board is not enforcing the rules, and the place is starting to look bad and things of that nature. So is there something in the documents that say, the board must? Take a look at your governing documents. That's one way how a lot of attorneys look at this issue. Take a look at your governing documents and see what the language says. Does the language say the board may enforce the rules,
or shall,
or does the document say the board shall enforce the following rules? Because if it's may, you know that there's some discretion there. If it's must or shall, then they don't have discretion. And I think if they didn't enforce it, then you absolutely have a case against them for breach of contract if those people who are breaching the contract, who are violating the rules, are causing damage to you. So that's what it really boils down to,
that
at least in my
one
opinion.
differentiation of words. I mean, that's
Could
what happened
could
at Parkland
mean a
with the
lot.
police.
That could
You
mean
may or shall enter the building.
Yep, that is everything.
It
That's
is,
everything.
it's everything.
In this situation, to me, it's everything. Got to see what your documents say. Must the board enforce the rules, or may the board enforce the rules? Okay?
Well, as I understand it, the House rules have become part of the documents, and they would always have to be enforced by the board.
Well, not necessarily.
They're part of the documents. There's nothing that says may or shall enforce.
Okay, then the argument may be that there is no discretion there. I don't know, but I'd have to take a look at your governing documents to tell you.
Okay. And then the board, the majority of the board are not going along with our governing documents. I mean, bylaws and so forth. And I didn't know what another board member can do about that.
So you're on the board? You're on the board?
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not. But I just didn't know what the board might be able to do.
It's the same
I'm
thing.
not on the
If you don't want to wait until the next election, then the answer is always try to do a recall. Right? Get 50% plus one of the unit owners to sign a recall ballot and get them out. That's the only thing you can do.
The may and shall language may be elsewhere in the docs, though, correct? At the end?
Correct. It may. Okay?
Okay, well, I'll take a look at that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks,
Have a good
Suzanne.
day. Bye-bye.
How about we go to Warren in Coconut Creek?
Good morning, Eric and Karen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our docs say that the annual election meeting must take place no later than the last 2 weeks in January.
Okay.
This has not happened, and we have not received the 14-day prior written notice for this meeting.
Okay.
The question is, does the current members who 2-year terms are up this January 31st still remain in their capacity, or is it automatically
they roll over?
Yeah. No. Well, the answer is you're saying until the next election. The answer is yes. Unfortunately, they stay in until the next election. But I will tell you that if anybody sued the association to cause a new election, or went to arbitration to cause a new election, you'd win, and I'll tell you why. There's actually a court case out there, an appellate case out there, that says a board has no authority to change the date of the annual meeting, the annual election, because by doing so, what are you doing? You're actually changing what the governing documents say, right? And in order to change what the governing documents say, we all know you typically need a 2/3 vote or a 75% vote. So the board did not get that vote in order to change the date of the election. So the board has absolutely violated the condominium documents and violated 718.
So they don't roll over.
Well, no, they're staying on, unfortunately, until the next election.
Oh, dear.
But they better have the next election immediately or sooner.
Oh, that's not fair.
Yeah, because they already screwed up.
That's not fair.
In other words, if you filed suit against them, right, suit or an arbitration, you would win. The arbitrator would enter an order saying that, yes, the board should not have moved the date of the election because, in effect, that's like changing your bylaws, right? And the arbitrator would order a new election. You would win your attorney's fees and costs as well. Okay, that's how I see that case going down. Okay?
Thank you, Eric.
You got it. Let's do this. Now they've got a couple of phone lines open. Taking your calls, 877-850-8585, 877-850-8585, or go to the chat box on YouTube. We'll be back right after this.
Is your home or condo looking old, worn out, and in need of a fresh look?
Welcome back to the final segment of Condo Craze and HOAs here on 850 WFTL. Karen Curtis with attorney Eric Glazer, and he's board certified in community association law. That would be for condos, HOAs, and co-ops, because you heard the co-op question. And if you're anywhere in the country or the world, you can call us toll free 877-850-8585, or you can go on our YouTube channel, Condo Craze and HOAs, and ask your question in the chat box. Don't wait to the end of the show to ask your question.
Our phones are stacked, so let's see what we can do before the show finishes. How about we go to John in Dania Beach? Hey, John.
Hey, good morning, Eric. Good morning, Karen.
Morning.
How are you?
Good. Hey, quick question regarding commercial vehicles. Now, we have in our rules and regulations, which we revised in 2016, we have an entire page on vehicles and parking. Now, in our governing documents, we have 5 pages of deed restrictions. In other words, well, as you know, restricts what you can do in the community.
Right.
No antennas, can't build out your garage, blah blah blah. Okay, one of those items deals specifically with commercial vehicles.
Right.
It tells you, no commercial vehicles, recreation vehicles, blah blah blah, can be
Right.
parked on the property overnight. And then it goes on to describe what a commercial vehicle is. Pretty standard language in most governing documents.
Right.
Anyway, it doesn't define what overnight is. So the board came along, and at the advice of the attorney at that time, we took all the items in the 5 pages of the deed restrictions from the governing documents, and we put them into the rules and regulations. So they're verbatim. Otherwise, we would have had to, don't amend them. Just you have to put them over word for word. Otherwise, you're going to have to amend them and get board of the ownership, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So one of the things that we moved over from the deed restrictions in the governing documents was commercial vehicles. So the board came along and they decided that they were going to change the rules on commercial vehicles, and they were going to say, well, you can have a commercial vehicle provided that it's covered. And so they didn't define what covering was, so covering became sheets and it became pillowcases, and it looked like it looked terrible, let's put it that way. Then they came along and they said, we're also going to enact a rule that says you cannot have we're going to define what times those are.
John, let me stop you for a second, because I think the way the association did it is all screwed up. The bottom line is the commercial vehicles were already discussed in your governing documents. Okay? They were there. They were in your governing documents. They weren't in the rules. They were in the declaration, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't care what you did with the rules. If you didn't amend the declaration, then the declaration still prevails. That's it. The rules that were made regarding commercial vehicles, they don't mean nothing to me, because it's the declaration that had to be amended.
Okay, that was my stance, and I wanted to confirm with you. It doesn't matter what you did, you would have to have amended your deed restrictions in order to affect that rule.
Bingo. Sounds like you've been listening to this show.
I have a very knowledgeable radio show that I listen to, and a very knowledgeable attorney.
You're the man. You're the man.
Thanks, John. But that you know the answer to that one. You hit it on the button.
Thank you very much, Eric. I'll be in touch with you shortly.
Thank you, John. How about we go to Joe in Melbourne?
Oh, hi. How's Melbourne today?
Hi.
How are you?
Just fine. I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, very simple, quick question. When it comes to access to official records, the law says we just need to give a written request. Then it goes on to say if you want to have that, I don't know how to say the word, rebuttable case, then you need to have sent a certified letter. My question is, can the association require a certified letter in order to have access?
Are you in a condo or an HOA?
HOA.
HOA. So the HOA statute requires a certified letter return receipt requested right off the bat. Right off the bat. Your first letter has to be...
Request.
I'm sorry?
I believe it's in a separate paragraph. It says you just need a written request, and then later on it says if you want to have a rebuttable case for going to court...
The way I read the statute, your first request has to be by certified mail, return receipt requested. What we can do is, if we want to debate that, we can do that next show. But if you live in an HOA, it's got to be certified mail, return receipt requested. Condo statute says only a writing. Okay, that's a big difference between the two. But in an HOA, gotta do it by certified mail, return receipt requested. I hope that answers your question, Joe. We are trying to get more calls in, so how about we go to, is it Zebra in Delray? Zebra?
Deborah?
No. Good morning. It's actually Ziba.
Ziba.
Okay, nice name. How are you, Ziba?
Thank you. I'm doing well, thank you. I hope you guys are okay, and thanks for taking my phone call.
Sure.
I had a quick question, Joyce. I live in Kings Point, and the board here, pardon me, I'm losing my voice. The board had the keys to every single apartment for years. I'm only here a few years, but in the last few weeks, the board decided that they're no longer supposed to hold people's keys and return them. They said there was a new law in Florida that they can't hold the keys any longer. Now, it doesn't sound right.
No.
It's an emergency. I think.
No, that's for the new laws for maintenance, not for the board.
I never heard that whatsoever.
Yeah, the new law.
Oh, the new. Yeah, maybe you know more about it than I.
It went into effect. I forget. It's what's her name's law.
Yeah,
the girl
right.
that was killed by the maintenance.
And they
guy.
got to do the background investigation
on
of the maintenance people,
but not the board.
Right.
Completely doesn't apply to them.
Right. Okay. Understood. Thanks, Karen.
Yeah.
And someone, a building, I think it was in Orlando.
Yeah.
Hired somebody.
Yeah.
Without doing a proper
And he
background.
got the master key.
And he wound up getting the master key, and he wound up killing a girl.
Yes.
Okay. So I forgot the name of the laws. There's a new law.
Ava.
Yeah, but it does not require that associations return the law, return the key. It requires a background check of the person that they're going to be, who's going to be performing the maintenance.
They can't hand it over to
someone. As a matter of fact, this came up in my office this week, and where an association wanted a key to everybody's unit, and I got to tell you, if an association wants a key, they shall get a key. Okay, but I think I think your association, if they want it, they get it. Period. But I think your association jumped the gun in returning it to everybody, and they didn't have to do it. Okay.
Right. I understand, and I thank you so much. I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You too. Janet, North Palm Beach.
Hi there.
Hey, Janet, how are you?
How do we change? I'm doing fine, thank you very much. But how do we change our rules and regulations? Not our amendments, but the rules and regulations.
That's by board vote. The board decides what the rules and regulations are. If you look at the statutes, the boards can make reasonable rules and regulations, typically governing the common elements. Now, sometimes you'll see in a declaration of condominium that the board even gets a little more power. That'll say the board has the power to make rules and regulations regarding the common elements and unit use. So that even gives the board more power, but that's done by the board. It's not a vote of the community. That's a board vote.
By the way,
yes.
The other thing is Mia's law.
Mia's law.
Landlords will be required to keep accurate log of everyone.
So it doesn't even apply to condos.
Well, but it's rentals.
It's rentals.
Employees and must undergo a background. Employees must.
Employees. Thank
Mia's
you, Karen.
law, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Eric, when we hold a regular board meeting requiring a 48-hour notice, is that just posted in the building? Is that enough?
That's correct.
What about absentee owners?
Too bad for an absentee owner. Too bad for an absentee owner, right? It just has to be posted, period. Okay?
That's fine.
All right, we're going to finish up with Naomi and Delray.
Naomi, how are you?
Is it Naomi or is it, what do you got, Jenny in North Miami?
It's
One of the
Jenny
two.
in North Miami.
Jenny in North Miami. Sorry about that. Jenny in North Miami. How are you, Jenny?
Janet.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, really quick.
Okay, DPPR, 25 administrative complaints in less than 2 years on a certain management company, and they're wreaking havoc on maybe 7 condominium units. I mean, not units.
Some condominium associations, right?
Okay, how forceful are the administrative complaints from the DPPR?
Well, if you're talking about 7 different associations filing complaints against the same management company, you would think that the DBPR would actually come down with an order. and well, certainly investigate. And if that management company is found to have committed violations, I don't know if they've done bad things before. I have no idea. I don't know how bad these things are, but certainly they would take action if 7 are complaining at the same time. That's what I'd like to think. I don't think they're going to ignore it. That's for sure.
Well, they have for 2 years, and some of these
Unbelievable.
condos, I mean, they're right now.
Okay, well, if they're still doing bad things, then I would think the 7 need to get together and hire an attorney and then go after the management company.
Give them
That's
your
the
number.
right thing to do. All right? As a matter of fact, on that note, quick, who's going to be in the Super Bowl, Karen?
It's going to be Bengals and Eagles.
I'm going with KC and the Eagles. All right, who you going with, VJ?
Who you got? Who you got?
I love Cincinnati.
All right, there you go. We're all over the place here. Hey, guys, if you need legal help off the air, give Glazer and Sachs a call, 954-983-1112, 954-983-1112. Register for the seminars, and, of course, we'll speak to you again next Sunday.